right, go ahead and mute yourselves. It looks like everyone else is already muted and you all got your screens turned off and everything. So go ahead and just take a couple moments to sort of settle yourself in. I'm gonna adjust my screen in the meantime. That's for the recording. If I forget to change the screen, then the recording is like all these empty boxes. So I always try to make sure it's full screen me so that you guys can see it in the recording. All right. So anyway, happy Thursday. Hope you guys are all doing well. Jackie and I were just saying how cold it is out there today. So hopefully you can stretch and warm up a little bit here on your mat. So if you're not already in that comfortable position that you want to start your practicing, start to make your way into that now. Lying back on your back if that feels comfortable, or playing around with another shape if that doesn't feel comfortable. So you have all the options in the world. You could be on your side, you could be seated, maybe cross-legged or kneeling with the eyes closed. You could be on your back with your knees bent. Does not matter what the shape is, just find one that feels comfortable for you. Close those eyes and just start to settle in here for a couple moments. So we all go throughout the day kind of picking up whatever energy we come in contact with or whatever feelings we're experiencing. And when we get to the end of the day or later in the day, like it is now, sometimes you feel like you've been carrying a lot, or you're tired, or maybe you feel really energized because you've been around people that are really energized. So whatever it is that you have brought with you up until this point when you stepped onto your mat, go ahead and just try to separate yourself from all of that stuff. So all of that energy that you might have picked up along the way, you can kind of separate from that and let it go just a little bit. Start to notice how you're feeling. So maybe you were anxious because someone around you was anxious. Maybe you were upset because someone else was, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how you're feeling. So go ahead and ask yourself now how you're feeling, and ask yourself what you need out of your practice this evening. Do you need to slow down? Do you need to step it up? Do you need to take breaks and breathe? Whatever you need. Once you kind of identify that, you can kind of give that to yourself. So go ahead and take a moment, start to think about that. Start to set intention for your practice. So sometimes when we notice what's going on, that can kind of steer our intention. So maybe you realize, okay, I need to focus on my breath tonight. I need to focus on slowing down, whatever it is. Set that intention. Kind of seal it right there into your heart. Take one more big breath. Maybe a really, really intentional breath. Big inhale into the nose, filling up the lungs, the chest, the stomach, feeling that expansion. Maybe even sigh it out, just kind of letting it all go. And then we'll start to make our way into a full body stretch. So on the next inhale, the arms are going to reach overhead as you start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, roll the ankles and the wrists, maybe a little side to side movement. I like to reach my left hand and point my left toe and kind of lean to the right. And then do the same thing in the other direction. Really reach the right fingertips, the right toe as you kind of stretch the right side of the body, lean a little bit to the left. And then as you come back to center, we're going to draw both knees in towards us, wrapping your arms around your shins. Give yourself a little hug. Start to notice the spine pressing down into the mat. Maybe this feels good and you're just going to stay really still and just kind of breathe, feeling that connection with the earth beneath you. Maybe you'll start to gently rock from side to side or circle your knees. Any little movement that might start to feel good, a little massage for the back of the body. Those knees can stay together, moving in one direction, or it can even be some sort of opposite circles, moving them into different directions or the same direction, but opposite of each other. Then we're all just going to bring our hands behind your thighs, tuck your chin into your chest, and then slowly start that little rock and roll motion on the spine until you eventually make your way up to a seated position. Maybe taking 2 rocks if it feels comfortable on the back of the body. Once you find that seat, go ahead and start to settle in. I always kind of rock side to side a little bit. It helps you ground down through your hip bones, your tailbone, ground down through those hips, and then start to lengthen the spine to feel the back of the body getting really long and tall and lengthened. On the next inhale, your shoulders are going to start to roll forwards and up. Exhale, let them release down the back. Couple more times like that. Inhale, lift them up. Exhale, release them back. And then also doing the same thing in the opposite direction. So rolling them back and then releasing them forward. Do that a few more times. And then the last time you lift them up, pause here, draw them all the way up towards your ears, creating a little tightness, a little tension right here in the upper body. And then with a big exhale, let it go. Good. Keeping your hands on your knees or bringing them there if they weren't already, we're going to circle the upper body so your chest is coming forward and around, all the way around, making that circular shape with the torso and the spine, just kind of letting that spine move a little bit at a speed that feels fun and comfortable. If you're making circles, you want to do a couple in both directions. It doesn't have to be circles. It could be like an S shape. Sometimes I like to move side to side. It could be a twist, looking over one shoulder and then looking over the other shoulders. All these little movements that feel good for your spine. And then once you finish the round that you're on, you'll start to come back through center, bringing the soles of your feet together, interlacing your hands under those toes, making that little butterfly shape with your legs. As you inhale, lengthen through the spine. Your spine is really nice and flat as you inhale. As you exhale, you're going to start to fold forward, keeping that length in the spine. So not rounding the back, not bringing your head all the way to your toes, just thinking about drawing your chest towards your toes. Compress those elbows into the shins, keep creating that length in the back of the body, and keep using your breath to bring you here. So each time you inhale, a little longer through the back of the body. Each time you exhale, that extra space will allow you to come a little deeper. And then on the next breath, we'll start to lift back up, and we're going to come to a wide-legged seat. So you can go ahead and extend both legs, bring the feet apart as much as it feels comfortable. You don't need to be sitting in a complete split, but just something wide enough that you can feel a nice stretch. Flexing your feet, almost like you're trying to point your big toes back at your body, really active. And then we're going to reach our arms up overhead as we inhale. As you exhale, you're going to start to walk your hands away from your body. So we do this a lot of times, at least in my classes, where our legs are crossed and we start to lean forward in that Indian style we were just in. This, you might notice you can't come as deep into it. It might be a little more challenging to fold forward here, and that's okay. That's normal. But it's good that we do it in this shape because it kind of gives you that deeper stretch. So just take a couple more breaths as you inhale, lengthen the back of the body. As you exhale, fold. Just do that a couple more times. Inhale, creating that length. Exhale as you fold. Let the head become heavy as it hangs between the shoulders. And then we're going to slowly start to walk the hands back towards the body as you lift all the way back up. You're going to reach the arms up overhead again on an inhale. This time as you exhale, the right hand is going to come to your right shin. You're going to start to lean to the right side. So almost like you're trying to bring those left fingertips over the right toes. You're pressing that left hand, getting a nice stretch on the left side of the body. The left hip presses down as the left fingertips reach. See if you can take that left shoulder and press it back a little bit. So I don't know if you are looking at me on the screen or if you're not, it's fine if you're not, but I saw myself do it. I kind of dialed that left shoulder back and all of a sudden my heart and my chest kind of lifted up. So rather than having that left shoulder down, you're facing the ground, you lift it up. On the next inhale, go ahead and lift it all the way up. Reach both arms overhead as you breathe in. As you exhale, we'll take it to the left side. So the left hand is coming to the left shin. The right fingertips are going to start to reach in front of the left toes. So pressing down through that right hip, creating that length on the right side of the body as that right arm reaches. And then again, that shoulder back just a little bit. So the heart and the chest shining up towards the sky and you're not facing the ground. Inhale, lift it all the way back up. Both arms come back overhead. Before we come out of this shape, let's interlace our hands in front of you. And then one more time, we're going to start to circle that upper body. So making giant circles. We kind of did this before when we had our legs crossed. Now we're going to do it again. Notice that stretch you're getting in the back of your legs, as well as that movement in the upper body. So taking a couple circles one direction, pausing, couple circles back in the other direction. And then once you're feeling even on both sides, you'll start to make your way all the way back through center. And you can just take your hands and kind of press the legs back together. Go ahead and tap the backs of your legs on the mat. Just sort of shake it out a little bit, maybe wiggle your feet from side to side. And then we're going to find a tabletop position. Coming onto your hands and your knees. Those knees are below the hips, the wrists are below the shoulders. Make flat back, that's your tabletop. And as you inhale, the stomach goes down, the gaze goes up. As you exhale, the back rounds, pressing the ground away from you, arching that back, that little angry cat. And continue to move here just like that with your breath. Inhale, press the stomach down, keep the knees up. Exhale, the back rounds, press the ground away from you. Adding on any movement that feels good. Sometimes I'll move my hips from side to side a little bit. Sometimes I'll shake my head, yes or no. All these little movements can kind of help you start to connect with how you're feeling today. You might notice different things depending on what you were doing. If we had snow on the ground, you were shoveling, you might start to feel, oh, I can feel this in my shoulders. Maybe you were at the gym working out and you did lower body and also you're like, oh, I can feel it in my hips. So as you move, you'll start to notice what areas might need a little extra love, a little extra stretching, kind of acknowledging all of that. On your next breath, let's extend the right leg, keeping those toes tucked. So the toes are on the mat, press back through the heel, and then press yourself forward from the toes. So you're just pressing back and forth. Your body will kind of move forwards and backwards a little bit as you stretch out the bottom of that foot and the back of the leg. And then as you come back through center, right leg is going to lift. It can be like parallel to the ground. It doesn't have to be super high, but we're going to take a breath in and draw that right knee towards the nose, rounding the back. Exhale, extend it long. Two more. Inhale, round that back, draw the knee forward, and then on the exhale, send it back. One last time, and you can do this with your own breath. It doesn't have to follow my rhythm. Exhale as you send it back. Pause here, and we're going to come into a modified side plank. Your left foot is going to slide off the mat. The top of the left foot is pressing down into the ground. And then the right foot is going to come down. The inner arch of the right foot is on your mat. And your right fingertips are going to start to reach towards the top of your mat. So essentially, you're making one long line on the right side of the body. Go ahead and press those hips up a little higher so you're getting a really deep stretch on the right side of the body. If it feels good, you can start to circle that right arm. You might get a nice stretch at the shoulder. Using your whole range of motion as big as you can, make those circles. Couple one way, and then a couple the other way. And then we'll start to close it all the way back off, coming back to that tabletop. So the right hand comes down, the right knee comes down. You can kind of shake out the hips a little bit if you like. And then we'll take it right over to the left side, extending that leg, keeping the toes tucked first so that you can just get that little stretch in the back of the foot, pressing yourself forwards and backwards. Everyone's different, but for me, whenever I do this, I can hear my ankle cracking and popping, but it feels good. It feels like it's getting a stretch that it needed, but I didn't realize it needed until I did it. And then as you come back through center, the left leg lifts. On the next inhale, knee draws to nose, the back rounds. Exhale, extend it long. Two more. Inhale, round the back. Exhale, extend. Moving with your own breath. Go ahead and do that third one. Draw it forward. Exhale as you extend it back, and then we'll find that modified side plank. So the right foot is your little kickstand. You can kind of slide the right foot off the mat. Inner arch of the left foot comes down, and then those left fingertips reach forward, pressing those hips up. Same as if you were in a full plank. So if you're in a full side plank, I should say. If you're in a full plank, the right leg would be extended. We're not doing that just yet, but either way, you want those hips pressing up rather than kind of like drooping down. Think about really stretching through the whole left side of the body, pressing the hips up, reaching the fingertips overhead. Make those circles if you did on the other side. Couple circles in one direction, couple in the opposite direction. Warming up that shoulder, and then we'll start to make it back to a tabletop position. Left hand coming down, left knee coming down, finding that tabletop one more time. And then from here, let's come into our first downward facing dog. So go ahead and tuck your toes. Start to straighten the legs as you press your hips up and back. And then you're just going to move here a little bit. You're going to lift one heel up at a time and then press it down. Rock your hips from side to side. Shake your head yes or no. If you've been doing yoga for a little while, you probably already know what you like to do when you come into that first down dog. You know what feels good for you. You know what doesn't feel as good. So go ahead and do the things that feel good. And then on the next breath, we're all going to roll it out into a plank position. So starting to draw those shoulders over the wrists, tuck the tailbone, engage the core. So really strong pose here. You're using all the muscles in your body. Your core is activated. Your tailbone is tucked under. As you exhale, we're going to send it back to a downward facing dog. We're going to do that 2 more times with our breath. Inhale as you roll it forward, plank position. Core is engaged, nice and slow. Exhale as you send it back. Last time, roll it forward into a plank. This time we're going to pause here. So go ahead and stay in that plank for a moment. And then the knees will come down. So you're kind of making a straight line from the knees up. You kind of keep that upper body sort of straight. And then we're going to lower ourselves all the way down onto the mat. Elbows are hugging in towards the body. Slowly bringing that stomach to the mat. Good. Your chin is right there on the mat. And we're going to lift up into a baby cobra. So for your baby cobra, your upper body lifts, your hands are also lifted. So you're not using your hands to press into the mat. You're just using that back of the body really to kind of lift you just a little bit. And then go ahead and press your hands into the mat. And we're going to find a downward facing dog again. So your knees start to bend, your toes tuck, and then those legs straighten. As you find that downward facing dog, you might continue to move here a little bit, or you might start to find some stillness. So it's really up to you at this point if it still feels good to kind of pedal out those feet, move the head, move the heels, or if you want to just sort of settle in, take your gaze towards your thighs or your shins. Focus on that breath. And then we'll all roll it forward into a plank position. Shoulders over the wrist. Tailbone is tucked under. Core is engaged. And we'll come to the mat. Slowly lower yourself all the way back down onto your stomach, just like we did before. This time you have that option. Another baby cobra if you liked it, or with your hands under your shoulders, you'll start to press up just a little bit. So keeping the back in mind, keeping the shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Notice your shoulders are lifting up. Take it down a little bit. You can kind of decide how far up you press yourself, depending on what feels right for you. And then we're all going to lower that upper body down. Find your downward facing dog. So the hands will press into the mat, bend, toes tuck, legs straighten. Downward facing dog for 3 more breaths. Again, option to move or find some stillness. On the next breath, roll it out into your plank. We're going to do this little sequence 1 more time. Core is engaged, tailbone is tucked under. Knees will come to the mat. Slowly with control, you're going to lower yourself down. Keep hugging those elbows in towards the body. On the next inhale, press it up to that cobra, whatever feels comfortable for you. Maybe you come a little further each time. Maybe you know where you like to go, and that's exactly where you go each time. So totally up to you if you kind of build on or just, you know, your spot and that's what you like. This time we're going to press it back to a child's pose rather than a downward facing dog. So go ahead and press those hands into the mat. Hips go up and back. The toes are together. Your knees are a little bit apart. As you settle into that child's pose, your hands can stay reaching towards the top of the mat. They can stack on top of each other, and you'll rest your head on the back of your hands, or you can bring those fingertips next to your toes. That'll take some of the pressure off of the shoulders. So if you ever notice that having your arms over your head at the top of your mat feels like a strain on the shoulders, bring them to the sides of the body. We're going to take 2 or 3 more breaths here. Thinking about that intention that you set. Thinking about this moment. Because when you focus on this moment, everything else kind of becomes blurry. Not really thinking about what you're doing later. Just being here. And then if your hands are not already at the top of your mat, you're going to start to walk them back towards the top of the mat. You're going to tuck your toes as you start to make your way back into that downward facing dog. Bend those hips up and back. And then we're going to take our gaze towards our hands. So look towards the top of the mat and then start to walk your feet all the way up towards your hands, coming to a forward fold. Your feet are like 2 or 3 fists distance apart. And you're going to fold in any way that feels comfortable for you. So bending the knees, if that gives you a better stretch, you want to try to keep fairly straight spine. It's not perfectly straight, but rather than your legs being pinned straight and bending your spine a lot, a little bend in the knees that'll allow you to kind of fold a little bit deeper. Your hands can be holding onto opposite elbows. They can be behind your head, behind your legs, whatever feels comfortable for you. On the next inhale, we're going to start to lift it all the way up. So slowly, one vertebrae at a time, begin to reach those arms up overhead as you come to standing. Take a little back bend once you're here, just kind of gazing up towards the sky, relaxing those shoulders. And then go ahead and bring your hands to heart center. Good. We're going to step our feet together so that your big toes are touching. Reach those arms back up overhead, interlace your hands, and then press the palms away from you. So you're pressing your palms up towards the ceiling. Take a big breath in. You get a little taller. As you exhale, take it over to the left side. So we want to stretch the whole right side of the body. You're leaning to the left. The palms are pressing to the left. The hips are pressing to the right. Roll that right shoulder back a little bit so you can look under that right arm. And then on the next inhale, come all the way back up. Reach a little higher. As you exhale, take it over to the right. Roll that left shoulder back as you look under the left arm, pressing those palms to the right, pressing the hips to the left. And on the next inhale, lift it all the way back up through center. As you exhale, big swan dive down. Hands come out to either side as you fold forward. On an inhale, you're going to bring your hands to your shins, flat back. As you exhale, fold again. Next inhale lifts us all the way up. Reach those arms overhead, little back bend, and then hands come to heart center. Good. Take that little sequence again. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Inhale as you bring your hands to your shins, nice flat back, creating that length. Exhale, fold into that space you created. Inhale as you lift it all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach it right back up. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. This time, we're going to put a little bend in our knees so that you can bring your hands to the mat. The right foot is going to stay at the top of your mat. Left foot is stepping to the back of your mat. So maybe one giant step, maybe you kind of slide that left foot back a little bit. We're coming into this low lunge or runner's lunge where your hands are framing out that right foot. Left foot is tucked, the ball of the left foot is down on the mat. And then we're all going to bring our left knee down and untuck those toes. As you exhale, send the hips back, straighten that right leg. So we're coming onto the heel of the right foot. Even kind of step that right foot up a little further if you need to. Sometimes you need that little extra space. You kind of slide the right heel forward so that the left hip is on top of the left knee. So you kind of want that straight line of the left leg. And then you're just going to start to fold over that right leg. It doesn't have to be fully straight. There can be a little bend in that right knee. As you point the right toes towards the body, if you're flexing the foot towards you. And then we're going to start to take that little movement, that little flow to warm up our hips that we do here. So you're going to go ahead and rebend that right knee, start to press your hips forward and down as the upper body starts to lift up. If you have blocks or any kind of books at home that you like to use, maybe you bring your hands to those books, let you kind of lift up a little further. Otherwise, kind of bring your upper body down a little bit more. And then as you exhale, hips are going back, right leg is straightening again. We're going to do that a few times. Go ahead and do it with your breath. So inhale, press those hips forward, bend the right knee, lift up through the upper body. Exhale as you send it back. A few more times, moving with your breath. warming up that hip. And then the next time you come forward, pause here as we start to come into our crescent lunge or Anjaneyasana. So hands are going to either come to that right knee, kind of pressing the upper body up a little bit more, or your arms are going to reach up overhead. So you decide where those hands are going tonight, but I want you really focused on your hips. Hips are pressing down. That's the goal here. So it doesn't really matter if your hands are on the knee or reaching up. What matters is that those hips are pressing down. And then we're all going to go ahead and bring our hands back to frame out that right foot. Tuck the left toes, straighten that back leg, and now we're coming back to the forward fold. So you can kind of step up the left foot a little bit at a time. You can even sort of straighten that right leg if it helps, and then eventually left foot comes back to meet the right in your little forward fold. Hands come to shins, halfway lift for space. Exhale as you fold. On the next inhale, lift it all the way up. Reach those arms overhead. Take that little back bend. Hands come to heart center. Okay. Do the other side. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Putting that little bend in the knees so that your fingertips can come to the mat. And then this time the right foot steps back so that left foot is staying forward. Finding that low lunge or that runner's lunge first. And then once you have that alignment, once you're in that shape, the right knee comes down, untuck those toes, and as you exhale, press the hips back. So again, you might need to adjust that left foot a little bit. I kind of step my left heel up to sort of fix that alignment. Your right hip is on top of that right knee. The left foot is flexed, like you're trying to point your toes towards your face. And then you're just going to fold over that left leg. Maybe flattening the back a little bit as you inhale. As you exhale, fold a little more over that left leg. And then just like we did on the other side, we'll start to move here a little bit. So go ahead and rebend that left knee. Place the left foot on the mat as you start to press the hips forward, lifting up through the upper body. And then as you exhale, send it back. A couple more times with your breath. Pressing those hips down as you inhale. Straightening the left leg as you exhale. The next time you come forward, we'll find that crescent lunge, bringing the hands to the knees. Sometimes I like to start on the knees, and then if that feels comfortable, then reach the arms up overhead. So you can kind of decide how you're getting into that pose or where you're getting into. Either way, shoulders are relaxed, your gaze is up. So even if your hands are on your knees, you're still looking up towards the sky, getting a little gentle bend in the back, as well as opening up through the front of the body. And then we'll all gently bring our hands back to frame out that left foot. The right toes tuck as you straighten that back leg. You're coming back to that runner's lunge, and then eventually stepping it back up to the top of the mat. So I always like to kind of straighten my left leg a little bit first and then start to step that right foot up. That kind of helps get the right foot all the way back, but however it works for you is fine. Once you're in that forward fold, hands come to shins as you inhale, flat back. Exhale as you fold. Inhale, lifts it all the way up, reach the arms overhead, little back bend as you gaze up towards the sky, and then bring those hands to heart center. Good. We're gonna reach the arms back up overhead. You're gonna take your left foot and bring it behind the right. We're crossing our legs. I explained that badly. The right foot is crossed in front of the left. Think about bringing your little pinky toes, your baby toes together. So you're kind of crossing your legs with the right one on top. I could have worded that a lot easier. As you inhale, the arms lift up. As you exhale, you're going to fold over those crossed legs. And you'll probably notice that it's a little more challenging. You don't fold as far forward. That's okay. You're getting a nice stretch in the outer hips here, especially on that right leg. If you do have blocks, you can bring your fingertips to the blocks if the ground is feeling a little far away. If you don't, maybe you just hold on to opposite elbows and kind of hang here. Just sort of breathe into any of that space that feels a little bit tight. Notice how this feels a little different. And then on the next inhale, slowly start to lift it all the way up, reach the arms overhead. Go ahead and bring your feet back so that the big toes are together. And then this time we'll step the left foot in front of the right, bringing the pinky toes together again. Take that breath in as you lift up. Exhale as you fold it forward again. So this time you have the opposite crisscross. If you did it opposite on the other side, then just make sure you're doing both sides at some point. And then on the next inhale, slowly start to lift it all the way up. Reach those arms overhead. Uncross the feet so that your big toes are back together. And as you exhale, we'll dive it down. Forward fold. Putting a little bend in your knees. That right foot is going to stay up at the top again as the left foot steps back, just like we did before. We're coming back to that low lunge, back to that runner's lunge. This time, the left hand is going to stay down on the mat next to the right foot. And as you exhale, the right arm is going to peel up, coming into a twist. Your gaze is coming towards that right hand. And then slowly placing the right hand back down on the mat. One more time on Janayasana, where we were just a moment ago. The left knee comes down, those toes untuck, lift it back up. See if maybe you can come a little deeper into it. You were already here, so maybe you're a little more warmed up. You're really able to kind of release into it just a little bit more. Maybe you even play around with the different variations. Sometimes I like to rock from side to side. And then slowly bringing your hands back to frame out that front foot. We're going to tuck our back toes, straighten that back leg, coming to a wide-legged fold on the left side. Your hands are going to start to walk over to the left. You're going to spin your right toes so that they're facing the left side of your mat. Your left toes are facing the side of the mat. Inhale for space. And then just take any variation of this fold that feels good for you. Maybe you're walking your hands to one leg, and then the other leg. Maybe you're still hanging like that rag doll. Maybe you're walking your hands way out far in front of you. Kind of just play around, see what feels good. See what it is that you need in this shape. And then we're all going to start to walk our hands back to frame out that right foot, so that we're coming back to that low lunge at the top of the mat. So the right toes face forward, spin back to the ball of that left foot. We're going to come into a pyramid pose. So for your pyramid pose, your left foot is going to step up about halfway. So maybe 2 or 3 feet behind your right foot. Your left foot is kind of at the center of the mat. If you have those blocks, this is another good one to have your hands on blocks. Take a breath in, lengthen the spine as you inhale. As you exhale, fold. Fingertips are either on the mat or those blocks. You need to bend your knee a little bit to get your hand onto something. Go ahead and do that. It's fine to have that little bend in the front knee. If you don't have blocks and the ground feels a little far away, you can also get a chair and bring your hands to the back of the chair, like the seat part of the chair. That can help as well. Take one more breath. And then we're all going to step it back up to a forward fold. So that left foot is stepping up to meet the right. Hands come to shins as you inhale, flat back. Exhale as you fold. On the next inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. On the next inhale, lift it up. Exhale, dive it down. A little bend in the knees. Left foot is staying forward as you step the right foot to the back of the mat. So that right foot is all the way back. Low lunge. Your right hand is going to stay down. As you exhale, the left arm lifts up. Take your gaze towards that left hand. See if you can keep the left knee on top of that left ankle. Sometimes the knee starts to kind of roll out to the side a little bit. See if you can keep that knee directly on top of the ankle and just twist through the upper body, pressing that left shoulder back. And then slowly placing the left hand on the mat. Right knee comes down, untuck those toes one more time on Janayasana. As you lift up through the upper body, see if you can take it a little deeper than you did before. Shoulders are relaxed. Maybe there's a smile on your face. You're feeling good. You're warmed up. You're stretched out. And then slowly bringing your hands back to frame out that right foot, or left foot, sorry, your right foot tucked, straighten that right leg. And this time we're gonna walk our hands over to the right side, coming into that wide-legged forward fold one more time. So you might be doing something different on this side. Maybe instead of moving, you just sort of hang like a rag doll this time. Maybe you kind of bend your knees and rock from side to side. Walk your hands really far behind you, sort of drawing the top of your head towards the mat. And then we'll all start to walk our hands back to frame out that left foot. Left toes face the top of the mat, on the ball of the right foot on the back of your mat. And then we're coming into that pyramid pose. So the right foot is stepping up halfway, center of your mat. Take a breath in, lengthen the spine. And then as you exhale, fold over that left leg. Try to square off the hips. The left hip naturally wants to be forward, most likely. Try to press that left hip back, that little right hip forward so that they're in a line and there's not one way out in front of the other. And then we'll step it back up to that forward fold. The right foot comes up to meet the left. Hands come to shins as you inhale, flattening your back. Exhale as you fold. Inhale as you lift it all the way up. Reach the arms overhead, little back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. Shake it out. Have a sip of water if you need, whatever it is that you need. Go ahead and take a minute. Kind of reset. Regroup. And then we'll all meet back at the top of the mat whenever you're ready. Grab a sip of water as well. So once you're ready, you continue. We'll take another breath in, reaching those arms up overhead. Exhale as you dive it down, forward fold. Inhale to prepare. You're bringing your fingertips to the mat, your knees are bent. This time, both feet are stepping back. We're going to come back to that downward facing dog. So go ahead and walk both feet all the way to the back of your mat. Haven't been here in a little while, so go ahead and reacclimate, resettle into your downward facing dog. Let's take one of those little flows again. Roll it out into a plank position. Shoulders over the wrists, tailbone tucks under, core is engaged. Coming down onto your knees. And then slowly with control, lower yourself all the way down. The slower you go, the more you'll feel it. Elbows are hugging right in towards the body. And then press it up to that cobra. So your hands press into the mat. Maybe you don't go as high this time. Maybe at this point in your practice, your back feels like it could do a little less. That's fine. Go ahead and do what it is that feels good for you. And then again, press it back to your downward facing dog. Hands press into the mat. Toes tuck, legs straighten. Downward facing dog for just a breath. And we're all going to meet in a tabletop position. So the knees are coming back onto the mat. Your hands can kind of walk back so they're under the shoulders if you need to readjust that alignment. And then we're going to extend the right leg behind us again, just like we did earlier. So finding your balance on 3 legs, you have 2 hands and a leg. And then once this feels balanced, you're going to extend your left arm forward. So opposite arm, opposite leg are extending in opposite directions, really reaching them far away from each other as you can. And then you have options. You can stay right here if this feels like enough for today, or you're going to bend that right knee, kind of think about pointing the right toes back towards you, and then you're going to take your left hand, start to reach back for that right foot. You have the foot, take the top of the foot and start to push it away from you. If you don't have it, you're just going to work on reaching for it. And as you reach for it, you're getting that little bend in the back of the body. So either way, have the foot, kind of kick it away from you to give yourself that little back bend. You're reaching for it, keep lifting through the upper body. And then slowly go ahead and re-extend the arm and leg. And then go ahead and place them both back down on the mat. Kind of rock your hips out from side to side a little bit. We're going to do the same thing on the other side as you extend that left leg long. Find your balance first. So taking your time nice and slow. And then the right leg is going to extend long, opposite arm, opposite leg. Again, that left knee can bend. And if you want, you'll start reaching back with the right arm. Maybe this side is different. Sometimes we're a lot more open on one side than the other. That's pretty normal. So maybe you're able to grab the foot and you couldn't on the other side, or maybe vice versa. The same thing applies if you have the foot. Start kicking the foot away from the body. If you don't have the foot, just keep reaching for it. Eventually you'll have it. And then let's all go ahead and re-extend our arm and leg. Slowly bringing both back down to the mat, back to that tabletop position. Kind of rock those hips out from side to side a little bit. And then we're going to come all the way down to a seated position. So go ahead and start to lower yourself all the way down with both legs extended long in front of you. So you kind of rock it out from side to side on your hips a little bit, just sort of settling yourself in here. And then the left foot is going to come into the inner thigh of that right leg. So you're flexing through the right toes. The right leg is nice and lengthened. And then as you inhale, lift up through the upper body. As you exhale, start to fold over that right leg. So doing whatever feels good for that right leg here. Maybe it's a little bend in the knee. Maybe it's a little massage for the back of the leg. Your hands can be resting on your shins, on your toe, on the mat, wherever it feels comfortable. Focus on getting that nice stretch in the back of the leg. We're going to hold this for about 5 breaths. Really use that breath to come a little further into it. Each time you inhale, create that space. Each time you exhale, fold. And then we'll slowly start to lift all the way back up. Our left foot is going to come to the outside of the right knee, setting up for a twist. So you have 2 options here. That right leg can stay straight, or the right knee can bend, and you'll kind of bring the right foot to the outside of the left hip. So either option. If it feels okay to bend that right knee, you can. If you prefer to keep the right leg straight, go ahead and do that. We're all going to bring the left hand kind of behind you a little bit. As you inhale, lift the right arm up. As you exhale, twist to the left. The right elbow's hooking onto the outside of the left knee. As you inhale, sit up a little taller. As you exhale, twist a little further. So you're looking over that left shoulder, creating a twist through the whole back of the body, not just the neck. Think about the whole spine starting to twist into this pose. And then as you come back to center, you're going to take it over to the right side for just a breath, kind of unraveling all of that, twisting the spine in the opposite direction. And again, coming back to center. We're going to take that left foot, place it on top of your right knee. So if the right leg was bent, go ahead and re-straighten that right leg. Now you're kind of making a little figure 4 shape with your leg, an upside down figure 4. Hands are going to come to the sides of the body, kind of propping you up, sort of supporting your spine a little bit. And then the right foot is going to step onto the mat. So as soon as you put that right foot on the mat, you might have started to feel a little stretch in the left hip. The idea here is that you continue to walk the right foot towards you, or kind of scoot your hips towards your foot until you feel enough of a stretch in that leg. Eventually you'll feel like, yep, this is it. I don't need to go further. So that'll be where you settle in. And use your hands to keep that spine nice and straight. If you feel like you're bringing your foot all the way towards you, but it's forcing you to kind of bend a lot, you want to step that foot away from you a little more so that you can keep that nice length in the spine. We're just going to breathe into this for a couple breaths. Maybe even closing your eyes. Maybe a little rock from side to side of the hips if that feels comfortable. Focusing on getting into any tightness or tension that might be there in the hips so that you can breathe some space into it, dissolve it, let it go. And then we're going to slowly slide that right foot all the way back down onto the mat. You can extend the left foot all the way down onto the mat and just tap the backs of the legs out a little bit. And we'll take it over to the other side. So your right foot is now coming into the left inner thigh. The left feet are flexed as you inhale, lift the arms up. As you exhale, fold it over that left leg. Same thing as we did on the other side. Whatever feels good is what you're gonna do, whether it's holding onto the foot, the shin, the mat, bending the knee, massaging the leg, or just staying still. Go ahead and take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll slowly start to lift it all the way up. The right foot is coming to the outside of the left knee. Your right hand is going to come to the side of the body. And as you inhale, that left arm lifts up. As you exhale, go ahead and twist to the right. I didn't say it, but you can bend that left knee if you did so on the other side. We'll all start twisting to the right, hooking that left elbow on the outside of the right knee. Take a breath in as you sit up a little taller. Exhale as you twist a little further. Using that breath to help create a deeper twist. And then slowly coming back through center all the way over to the left side for just a breath, unraveling that spine. And coming back through center. We'll make that little upside down figure four again, bringing the right foot to the top of the left knee, flexing through both feet. Feet are really active. You bring your hands to the sides of the body, and then that left foot steps on the mat. So flat on the ground with the left foot, and then just keep stepping the left foot towards you or sliding the hips towards the foot until you've found the spot that's right for you. Same thing as you did on the other side. Maybe you close your eyes, maybe you move a little bit, maybe you just focus on that breath. Bending that breath to the right hip, picturing any sort of tightness or tension beginning to dissolve and relax and soften, float away. And then that left leg is going to go ahead and re-extend. The right leg extends, tap the backs of your legs on the mat. And then before we start to take it down a little bit, go ahead and set yourself up for the end of your class. So if you want socks, sweatshirts, water, whatever you need, go ahead and collect all your things. And then once you are ready, kind of come so that you're at the top of your mat. One vertebrae at a time, you'll start to lower yourself all the way down, nice and slow, using that core, and then finding a big full body stretch once you get there. The arms reach up overhead, take a big deep breath in, big exhale, let it go. You want to do another big inhale. You can exhale and kind of let the arms fall to the sides of the body. So after you're done stretching, go ahead and bring the arms to either side of you. We're going to bend the knees, bringing the feet to the base of the spine. As you start to set up for your back bend, we're going to do a bridge pose. On the next inhale, the hips start to press up towards the sky. So wiggling those shoulder blades under you just a little bit. And then you can either keep your hands pressing into the mat, or you can start to interlace your hands under the tailbone. So whichever feels right for you tonight, that's what you'll do. We're just going to hold this for about 5 breaths. Tucking that chin into the chest, pressing those hips up a little higher. Breathing into that space in the front of the body. And then after those 5 breaths, when you are ready, you'll start to peel that spine back down onto the ground, one vertebrae at a time. Once your tailbone touches, you can rock your hips from side to side a little bit, almost like they're windshield wipers. And we're going to start to find our inversion. So I always like to give choices. If you like to use the wall and extend your legs up the wall, go ahead and find some wall space, or you can do it without the wall by simply extending the feet up right where you are. Your hands can be behind your thighs, or you can be sitting on your hands. So whichever makes it a little more comfortable. If you have a block, you can also sit on the block. Slide that block under your hip. So just some different options. See what feels the most comfortable this evening for you. And then we're going to be here for about 7 breaths. So depending on when you got into the pose, Go ahead and let the eyes close. Start to count those breaths. Maybe you'll come out of it a little sooner or later than the rest of us, and that's okay because you're going to kind of do it in your own time. So go ahead and you count your own breaths. If you're doing your legs up the wall and you want to stay there for the rest of the class, that's an option as well. Legs up the wall is a great Shavasana. So if that's what feels right for you tonight, then by all means, that. For the rest of us, once we've counted those 7 or so breaths, you're going to slowly start to draw your knees back and towards you, wrapping your arms around your shins. You give yourself that hug. And then just like we did at the beginning of class, kind of move the legs in whatever way feels good. You might start to feel the blood kind of coming back into the legs as you circle them or rock them from side to side, maybe even lifting your head up towards your knees, kind of making a little ball shape, placing your head back down on the mat. And then we're all going to find a twist, bending your arms wide to either side. Let those knees release over to the right. Let that left shoulder press down towards the mat. Sometimes when we twist, the left shoulder starts lifting up a lot. It's okay if it's lifting, but try to actively draw it back down towards the mat. So you're really creating that twist, maybe even pressing down on the right thigh a little bit and pressing down on the left shoulder, or I guess the left thigh, on the right side, but the left thigh. Your gaze can be up towards the sky, or you can be looking off to the left, away from the legs. Your eyes can still be open, or they can start to close if that feels comfortable at this point in your practice. And then we're all going to gently begin to bring the knees back through center, take them over to the left side. So just kind of switching directions here. Maybe your gaze goes in the opposite direction. Maybe you switch hands if you are holding on to that leg. Wherever you are, your breath is going to start to kind of just return to its normal rhythm at this point. We try to focus on our breath as much as we can throughout the class, moving with the breath, inhaling and exhaling as we move. But from here on, you really just want to let the breath do whatever it wants to do. So whether it's getting a little deeper, a little more shallow, kind of let that breath start to do what it does. And then we'll all start to draw those knees back through center, placing your feet back on the mat. Take a moment to check in with yourself and see where you'd like to end your practice tonight. So that might mean staying right here. You can kind of walk your feet out to either side, let your knees lean in towards each other. Stay right here with the knees bent. You can straighten your legs. You can also take any last minute movements if you feel like there's some other pose you still need, maybe a little supine butterfly on your back with the soles of your feet together and your knees out, or who knows, any other stretch that feels comfortable that you still need. Go ahead and do that, and then start to settle into that final shape. So taking as much time as you need to decide where you are ending your practice. And then once you arrive, go ahead and one more deep breath. Exhale, let it go. Closing the eyes if they weren't already, letting yourself just start to melt into your mat, letting go, dissolving, floating, kind of existing. As you take these next few moments to just enjoy the stillness, enjoy the quiet, enjoy Shavasana. Starting to bring your breath, beginning to bring your awareness back to your body, starting with really tiny movements, beginning in the fingers and the toes, then rolling out the wrists and the ankles. Eventually, the movements become a little bigger as you start to stretch the whole body, maybe finding a full body stretch or bending or straightening your knees depending on where you were. If you're lying down, you can turn onto your side with those knees bent, resting your head on your arm. Take these last few moments here on your mat. Kind of collect up all that goodness that you just created, all the poses, the breaths, that good energy that you just created and refilled your cup with, so that once you get off your mat and go back out into the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and you can approach it with that feeling of like, I got this, I'm recharged, I'm ready to go. Whenever you're ready, you can start to make your way back up to the seated position, slowly pressing yourself back up, bringing those hands to heart center. As always, I am so grateful for all of you for bringing that light and energy with you and sharing it with me here on your mat. Hope you have the most beautiful night, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys all again soon.